Welcome to the webinar. My name is Nick Zulovich, part of the team at Cherokee Media Group, and pleased to welcome you in as we wrap up what's been a month-long project here at Cherokee Media Group. We've called it the Trend Spotlight with a focus on artificial intelligence, AI, certainly a top of mind subject for everyone involved in automotive, and very excited to have this conversational webinar with three experts, to say the least, who are using AI on a regular basis. Todd Smith, who is the founder and CEO of Core AI, as well as two dealers who are using artificial intelligence in their businesses, Dwayne Sanders with the Santa Barbara Auto Group and Brian Durant with the Bruner Auto family. And we invite you to participate as you've joined us here today. If you'd like to pose a question as the conversation goes along, please just use the chat function here on the Zoom platform, and we'll weave those questions into the conversation as well. So please welcome in Todd Smith of Core AI, Dwayne Sanders of the Santa Barbara Auto Group, and Brian Durant of the Bruner Auto family. Gentlemen, thank you so much for being with us.
We really appreciate it. I appreciate it. Thank you so much for having me. I guess we'll jump right in and have some fun here today. We thought it'd be a great time to give different perspectives on what's going on with dealerships, AI, how it's being used from a couple different perspectives. So I brought along, I believe, some great dealers, as Nick said, both Dwayne and Brian. So with that, I think I'm going to jump right into questions. I feel like let's get to the meat. I've had lots of conversations with both of you through text, through emails, through calls about leveraging AI inside the store. But I think I'd like to start with you, Dwayne. We'll put you on the hot seat to get started. And, I look, Dwayne, you really spent your whole career in the Highline side, Mercedes, BMW. In fact, I still have a note here that Mercedes said that you were the most valuable asset for San Diego County. You did the most for that region. So that's amazing. So I really wanted to ask, though, when did AI for you stop being that buzzword and you started to think of it as more of a tooling that you would be able to leverage every single day?
Well, I think the real eye opener for me, and I wouldn't call it AI, but 10 plus years ago, Porsche instituted a technician helpline that used HoloLens glasses. And so when our Porsche technicians were working on a car and trying to solve a difficult problem, they were wearing these glasses. And you had field engineers, and those field engineers could be at the SoCal training location, they could be in Atlanta, they could be in Germany, and they're seeing everything the technician is seeing live, guiding him through what steps to take the car. So it just really eliminated the lag time of doing this, calling a tech line, doing that, calling the tech line. And, at that point in time, I really knew the world was going to change. And we had two options. And not buying in, not engaging in it was just not going to be a good option. I didn't think there was any turning back at that point in time.
Yeah, that's really good. So really for you, it was even before the AI. It was just what I would say, the transfer of being able to real time help the technicians get to, through the process much faster. I think in the age of AI, it's going to accelerate that. So
Sure.
that's a really good one. So moving on to you, Brian, from your perspective, here you're sitting in, a family-owned group that goes all the way back. I think you guys started 1928. So I'm going to say there's a lot of legacy there, right? I think fourth generation, Greg, for dealer, which is also amazing in and of itself. So, you're working inside there. When was that moment there's okay, this AI thing is real. I really want to start building software. I know you're not an engineer. You didn't go to engineering school, so you're not a software developer. You're not a SWE. So here, sitting in your seat, describe that moment, what got you there and what was going on.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks, Todd. So truly, it stemmed with you. We brought you in, Mr. Bruner as chairman of TAD, Texas Auto Dealer Association here in Texas, and we had you in at one of our smaller meetings. I think it was in Austin, actually, and you just tasked us with a small project just to really kind of dial in with the Lovable app and just to build some sort of platform. And I think I was probably if you'll recall, the funny story was Greg went to lovable.com, which I've heard you mention that before. We don't recommend that. That's a totally different website. But no, you just tasked us with a small task. And I actually followed through with it when I came back to the store and reached out to you a couple of times. And that was really the moment that I really felt like this can be impactful in our business. And there's a tremendous amount of ROI tied to that, and just started exploring and just I finished the task that you'd set in front of us and just saw the opportunity. Reached out to you a couple of times, and I think I just shared with you right now in my Lovable app, there's like 18 different projects because it's like crack cocaine. When you get on this, it's just you eat, sleep, and just really realize the opportunities that are available to you. And I've taken that and transitioned it to my team now. And with your recommendation, part of our weekly Wednesday meeting, right, is what's your next step for AI tasking? And that's and maybe we'll go into in a minute of some of the smaller things I get my team to do. But really, it was you opening my eyes, actually doing something, which was the first milestone. Actually get in there and touch it, feel it, see it. And then it becomes addictive. And I think then you realize, along with some of the things that you speak on very often and that are in your book that my wife and I are both reading, that just really open your eyes to the reality of it, what's coming, what's here, and the potential of what you can do right here in your store every single day to create efficiencies that ultimately create dollars to the bottom line is what I'm seeing in my early journey of this.
That's amazing. And so I'll make sure everyone understands Lovable. It's lovable.dev. It is a coding tool similar to Claude Code or Codex if you use ChatGPT. And the best part about it is if you can explain what you want it to build, it can go ahead and build it. So whether it's building a weekly report, building a weekly meeting guide, building a training tool, building a website, honestly, anything that you can verbalize right there. And they do have a mobile app as well, which definitely, I'm going to say, raised up the crack bar. Even for me, that my wife is looking over at me with the evil eye some days and like, Todd, like, what are you doing? I'm like, I just need a few more minutes. I'm trying to finish off something. So happens all the time. So like back to you, Dwayne, because I think your perspective, you're not going to want to roll up your sleeves and build stuff, but you are going to want to leverage this technology inside the store. So I think one of the things, because you can come from a unique perspective of the luxury side, and one of the things that kind of is always in my mind is like, where do you think the line is, or where do you think you'll draw the line with having AI touch your customers? Because you have high net worth individuals, right? You guys have Bentley, you have Porsche, you have all high end brands. So what are you seeing, and how are you approaching it through, like, what is your thinking to approach using AI with that type of customer?
It's a very complicated question for me. Is luxury means really different things to different people. And many people, that we deal with, don't have the luxury of time. That's the thing they value more than anything. So if AI can solve their problem, they'll appreciate that. So there's things where, employing AI in our dealership, whether it be to be able to schedule a service appointment 24/7, 365 by text message or call in at night and do that, have those kinds of things. I think that's important. But I think there is a very different experience required when we compare the experience of maybe purchasing a Mercedes-Benz GLC versus building a Porsche a build to order Porsche 911, a build to order Bentley that can take 24 hours of time, sometimes sitting with an experienced sales consultant going through interiors, exteriors. How do you want the trim on the seats? Do you want this on your dash? So, I think that we don't want to ever try to replace the long time experience of our sales consultants building these $300,000, $400,000 cars with people. I think they really appreciate when they can dig in that far. So, the one thing I want to make sure of is that AI never chooses how the customer does business, but the customer always chooses how they do business with us. Let them make that determination. I mean, we've all made the phone call to a credit card company to get something solved, and all you're trying to do is talk to a person, and all it keeps telling you to do is put in your credit card number, do this, do that, what's your balance, and you end up screaming at the phone, just let me talk to somebody. So I want to make it easy for our customers to go down this path or that path, let them choose it, and we're able to adapt and do that quickly.
Okay, so just to reiterate that, so you're looking at it more as we want to use AI internally to support our team to help them do what they're already trying to do, probably even more than directly touching consumers. Like anything that will
Correct.
help kind of roll
Yeah,
through that.
and I think, we have a Honda location separate, and I think that's going to be quite different than the Santa Barbara Auto Group with the luxury brands. But,
Right.
I think that letting the customer choose how they want to do business. My gosh, if we could figure out how to build a Porsche 911 by using AI and the customer wants to do that, let them do that. But when the first green one with the red interior shows up, we're going to have a problem.
The Christmas tree 911 that no one will ever that
Yeah.
goes
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
$40,000
I,
under book
I
at
need
the
to make
auction.
sure that AI can execute a non-refundable deposit agreement for 100 grand on that car before we order it.
Super funny. So I want to add one more thing to that, Dwayne. So like, give me like, okay, you've been playing with AI now for a while. So I'm kind of looking for, what was that moment, not really journey moment, where you were looking at this and it's like you can't unsee it anymore. And you're like, this is going to be really real because, and I'm asking you because again, I believe a lot of dealers are like still sitting on the sidelines, and that's okay. Like, but I'd like for through your eyes, like running a group, like when did it become real to you? Like what did you see that you're like, I can't unsee this?
Well, I think, Todd, it was, first sitting down with you and looking at some of the abilities we had with Core AI. And for those not familiar with Core AI is, and Todd, jump in, I'm going to call it a data lake. We dump all the data we can absolutely find into Core AI, whether that be every car deal, every repair order, every declined service, everything we can find in there. And now, as you start getting better at writing the queries, the amount of data we can come up with to do highly targeted marketing to people is incredible. So, we've been now live with you and Active Campaign for almost 12 months. And so, one of our biggest fears with any of this kind of stuff is, are we going to communicate? Are we going to be spamming people? Are we going to get them to turn off? Santa Barbara is a small town. There's 150,000 people between Santa Barbara and Goleta in the area. So, we're not in a metro area. We have 35,000 records in our database from 20 years, but what we really determined is with looking at the integration with experience and finding buyer propensity scores, who's in the market. So you take a little store like ours, and we sent 35,000 emails in December of 2025 to our database, not to 35,000 people, but to different segments of that. And in 35,000 emails, we had less than a 1% unsubscribe rate.
Yeah, wow.
So the messages we're getting are to the right people. They're interested in the message. They're not unsubscribing, a high percentage engage. And now we track that. So we look back when we sell cars in January, February, March and see, well, when did they get an email from us? Did we get an email before they bought the car? Did they do this? And those kinds of things awaken you to the point of all of this data is at your fingertips. And it's all really valuable data. and how much your customers appreciate getting the right message at the right time. And that's the hardest thing to do without the intelligence.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. I love that. So I'm going to jump to you, Brian. Very interesting. Like, look, your background, which I did my research. Mostly corporate finance, training, strategy, planning. Obviously not a coder, but you are today, which is amazing. Love that. What was it like? There had to be a shift where normally you would have just gone to vendors to go fix problems. But obviously, after our class together at TAD8 at Leadership Academy, like what broke loose for you? Like, what was your breakthrough moment when you left and started playing, with these tools that you just realized you could do it and not only do it, but actually, build value inside this store?
Sure. No, I think really the aha moment for me was seeing what we trust with our outside vendors. Not that it's a bad relationship, but it's only as good of a relationship until the relationship ends for whatever reason, right? And I go back just like Dwayne and I see, my first dabble in drawing out our customer data was just shy of 500,000 lines of customer information that I was working inside one of my projects with. And to think that somebody else has that information, and really from a dealership perspective, we don't, I found out, well, here's what triggered me was we always are cued to ask, do we still own our data if we let it drop into your platform, right? And the answer is always, oh, certainly, it's your data, right? You'll always own it. But it's how you own it, because they own what I call in my simple mind the spreadsheet that data sits in, and how it's all organized, and how sometimes they can accommodate you by giving you certain segments of that data back. Well, when that relationship no longer exists, you get a brown bag full of data. You get the Tetris version of your data, right? And you're trying to fit it in, and it's very, very difficult. No, but that just got me thinking, we don't even know, we don't control our data. We have it, but we don't control it. So how do we control it? How do we utilize it? And just, that's really what got me started in just really dabbling in this. Was I want to see what the potential is as far as what's out there, what I can withdraw from it, to really kind of get my mind wrapped around to where, I'm basically working through the blueprint, right? That you
Right.
reference, that you give everyone access to on the website, that allows just to kind of go in and see what the big picture of where we're kind of missing it. How much is really out there for us to explore, to go look at, and kind of put this in terms of where is the opportunity? What are the
Right.
opportunities in this? And what am I trying to outsource that really is so simple if you have the data and you know how to manipulate the data? You can do so much, and you're not making that phone call of trying to explain what I want to do to somebody that wants to put it into a silo of, oh, well, that's option one, or that's upgraded to bucket two, or that's our premium package, right? You can do it Dwayne said he's had 35,000 emails, very selective, right? Very
Yeah.
pointed to certain customer segments, and had a 1% unsubscribe rate. That's value. And we're missing
Yeah.
it, me included. We're missing it because we're allowing others to manipulate and control what we have internally.
Makes sense. So you said like in your Lovable, you have like 18 different projects, but like let me hone in on like walk me through Tuesday morning. What are the 1, 2 projects that have come out that you're using all the time with your team? What are they doing and helping you organizationally? So this is truly you've built a tool using AI. Now you have it actionable inside your retail stores.
So I'll share a real-time story. Yesterday, we
Sure.
launched for the first time our weekly payroll, and it allows. I built a project that allows every manager. So I do the approval, turn it in, managers, department managers send it in for a quick look. I sign off on it, take a packet to AP and our HR, and then she goes through and she manipulates literally handwritten notes. If somebody wanted to take advantage of 2 PTO days or sell a vacation day, or if it's flagged hours and they get clocked hour combination, all these like scientific notes on all these payroll sheets, right? And it's a stack for our small store that she goes through. Well, now it's literally 2 pages per store. And we kicked it off yesterday. We had some bumps and hurdles, but the efficiency just in that alone yesterday was so refreshing. And I'll tell you the best part about it was my department managers loved it. They no longer have to take a report, download it, read it, put the information and the data that goes on this on the payroll report over here for metrics that are measured, for example, with our advisors, where they're at on NPS, where they're at on MPIs and videos and things. There's reports that feed into it automatically. It's there. And they now do my job. So we've basically taking a layer of that process out because they're just reviewing. Time clock reports go straight to it. Flagged hours go straight to it. It's all there. It's just the efficiency in which it feeds into the project, and then having literally a 2 page report for your payroll. And that was kicked off yesterday. It was probably, I don't know, 20 hours, 18 hours worth of work on my part, being the simple mind I am, as you mentioned, and learning what else you can do as you go. And then I got feedback from my team, and we've already enhanced it. So that's a real story that we literally launched yesterday morning, and it was a success. Absolute
Yeah, that's
success.
amazing. I love to hear those stories. It's funny. I keep wanting to wear a t-shirt that says "Hold my beer" because you
Yes.
can actually go and fix things so fast in this agentic world where normally you would have to go back to the developers, you'd submit stuff and like they need tickets written and you go through a pretty lengthy process in a typical structure to develop software. I feel like all of that has been washed away. Now, security still plays a role and a bunch of other things you have to put in place, but I think
So
we're speeding up. So, Dwayne, like walk me through, you kind of walked me through, your, using AI to create segments. Tell me a little bit more. Has this changed your processes of like how you're thinking about marketing? Like what are you uncovering now that you really just couldn't or didn't before, or really just maybe even relied on vendors to do that side that you can now do, you feel comfortable in doing yourself?
Well, I think the biggest thing for us is, before everybody's trying to figure out, well, what should we market or what we should do? We have an agency that can do creative, we have the other things. But now that we have the ability to find out, which of our customers are in market, so rather than creating a template and sending it out through the CRM to 35 or 40,000 people in the CRM who 28,000 have zero interest in it because they bought a car last week or 3 months ago or whatever it is, we now simply task our sales management team to tell us what's your availability look like? Where are the best programs? What cars should we be marketing this week or the next couple of weeks? And they come up with that. They go, well, I've got, 20 Mercedes GLCs, GLEs, GLAs. We need to market sport utilities. Okay, good. We put together a very simple sheet for them to fill out. California, of course, has a lot of regulations about disclosures. So we get the disclosures dialed in on a spreadsheet, which sounds like we could probably do it in Lovable just as easy. We'll take a look at that. Um, they provide to myself and Drew Lind, who helps us with all our digital marketing. Here's the cars I want to sell this month. Now we simply then go to our database and search for the people that would be good targets for those cars. One of the interesting things we found is there is some stuff that works by brand. We can target some Audi customers or BMW on some specific stuff. but we really found huge engagement. And I think it's important for everybody to understand how we operate. We have Audi, BMW, Mercedes, Porsche, Jag Rover, and Bentley on one campus, on one DMS. We operate as one company. Santa Barbara is small. It all runs together. So, Todd Smith owns an Audi, he owns a Mercedes, and he owns a Land Rover. So he's in there 3 times. But what we found is when we take our in-market customers who are showing a high buyer propensity score and offer them all the different cars, here's an Audi email, a BMW email, Mercedes email. They engage with all of them. They look at all of them. Once in a blue moon, you get somebody who goes, stop, and we unsubscribe them. It's really easy. But what was more important was getting all of this information in front of people who are in market rather than be so concerned about it by brand. We do a featured vehicles email a couple times a month, which is where all of the sales managers take, here's all my age stuff that I'm really worried about and I need to do something with. And we then also created a link that puts all of our retired loaner cars. We have 100, at any point in time, we have 105 or 110 loaner cars in service in Santa Barbara. And this is a big chunk of change. This is $6-7 million worth of inventory. So we put a link in our featured vehicles. Here's all our retired service loaners. Here's our used cars. And even in the upper end of the market, what we're seeing right now is the used cars and the retired service loaners get more clicks than the new cars. Our retired loaner car turn, cars are sitting fewer days before they're being sold. So we're increasing our turn, reducing our costs, reducing our flooring. And we can see who's clicking on them and what's happening with it. So I guess what I'm saying is rather than guessing about our marketing, we take the inventory that we have available, we create the best message to move it with the best offers, and we get it to people who are in market.
Wow, that's really good. So you're using ActiveCampaign for your email delivery tool. For
Yes.
guys who are not super familiar with ActiveCampaign, how's your experience been using that versus trying to send it out of like the CRM, right? What most people do today.
It's a world of difference. And I know there's, constant contact, there's all the other things, but when you deploy an email through ActiveCampaign, within minutes, you can see people opening it. You can see what links they clicked on. We can get a report on engagement. We're working on getting better at automated retargeting. If we send an email out and Brian opens that Audi email 9 times and clicks on 5 different links, we know that we need to get to Brian with a follow-up email that might be just as soft as, hey, thanks for your interest in Audis at Audi Santa Barbara. We're standing by to help you any way we can. It comes from the sales manager with their direct line and their email on it. That's all it is. Not more cars, not more offers. We're here to help. Feel free to call me if you need anything.
So more flexibility would be a
Correct.
good way to look at it.
Right.
Yeah. Have you turned on or tried the email or the text message yet inside ActiveCampaign?
We have not tried the text messaging yet. And one of the things I'm uber concerned about with all the text messaging platforms that are out there, and this is something that we're all going to have to deal with, is, are we sure everything is compliant? Because now you have Cox texting them for X time. We have ActiveCampaign texting, and we have salespeople, have we got all the authorizations? Have we got all the buy-ins? And this is one of the things, if somebody wants to be a billionaire, figure out how to run all the texting through one program for dealerships that all comes from the same phone number. Because the other thing is we have customers that are getting texts from 9 different phone numbers from Santa Barbara Auto Group.
Yeah, I feel this is a constant. I've had conversations with Eric Day down at Warren Henry about the same thing. Because living in Florida, we're like TCPA lawsuit capital of the planet, right? Like almost all of them come out of South Florida suing dealers across the U.S. So pretty interesting.
To finish that topic, so I think what we've made it easier for the sales managers is they can now, and Honda is where we really dialed this in, because with Honda, the way the Honda allocation system works, we can look at our pipeline. We know what cars are coming in 30 days in advance, how many of them, what the deal is. So we can put a program offer out there on Hondas 30 days in advance and say, we got 25 available. And even if they're not all on the ground, we honor the offer, whether the program changes or not, because they seldomly in today's world get worse. And so we have the highest turn rate. We're a small Honda store in Southern California. I mean, we're not a 500 unit a month store, but we're one of the only stores that's year over year up in sales. Our turn rate is up, so we're earning more cars. And I just think it's because we've made it easier for everybody, our sales managers, our salespeople, our customers, to look at an offer and know they can just come in and get the car for that. No ifs, ands, or buts, even if they have to wait 2 weeks for the car.
It's really good. Thank you for sharing that. So I'm going to switch. Brian, question. So when you got back and you told Greg, hey, I'm going to start building software inside a dealership, like, what was that feedback like? How did he respond? Because, look, I feel, and again, my opinion on this, and I've written about this, there has to be an AI champion, right? And obviously I know you should have the t-shirt inside Brunner, but I'd love to know, talking to the owner, how that all went. And, for other people listening who either want to be that champion or know they need to find that champion organizationally.
Yeah. So, as you know, Greg was there with me at the TADA leadership, and then my counterpart that has two of our other stores on another campus was there. And all I wanted to talk about on the 3 hour drive back was I'm dialed in, right? Like, and they're talking other marketing schemes. They're gearing me away from this conversation, and I was genuinely excited about it. Something clicked instantly. I saw the value. I saw the reality of it being in our world, and I'm thinking about what are other platforms and other vendors that I had previously was almost ready to pull the trigger on, right? That had some of this technology, because NADA this year was everybody's AI, right? Everybody had AI component. And now I know just how trickery that is. But Greg was a little bit hesitant. We're in a rural market in Texas. Both of our campuses are. We have a CDJR store and a Chevrolet GMC store here where I'm at. And so I think there was a little bit of resistance to it of, man, are we really ready for that? And more importantly, are our customers really ready for that? And the answer to that is a really, really bad day for AI is a great day from a very productive sales consultant. That's what the reality that I've learned. And I have some really talented, some really tenured sales professionals, but even at their best, they can't compete. So I think once I started sharing with just dabbling in this, from the initial project, as I was sharing that we started at TADA together, that he didn't finish, by the way, that I did. I think I think once he had the opportunity to hear me and my response to, let's say, you and your big picture, right? And it was certainly not to promote core AI. It was promoting what's here today, what's in front of us, and just giving us that 30,000-foot view to get us honed in enough to take the initiative, right? Just to take the next step and see what it's about. I think once I had that conversation with him, and then he brought you back in to the TADA dealer meeting down in, I guess we were in San Antonio, right? And so I think once he heard that, and then kind of saw some of the others responding, it clicked. It really clicked for Greg, and he's on board. And he had no idea I was doing this after hours behind the scenes, if there is such a thing after hours in the car business, right? But we would shut the doors, and I was here at the dealership till midnight, 1 o'clock, working on this stuff. And then I was keeping it a little separate from him, right? And then I could share with him a big picture, a big efficiency that we saw, or a reporting tool that I created that gives us so much data that we have access to if we just keep clicking. Now it's all one place, right? So he's bought in now, and that buy-in is allowing me to, he's wanting to see what the potential is. He wants to know what the ROI is, right? As every good operator should know, what this is fun and it's cool and it gives us some efficiencies, but what's in it for us at the end of the day, right? And I'm able to share some of that with him now. Now that's a big buy-in, right? So a little bit of hesitancy, but exposing him. The only way to get buy-in, not only from my team, but from Greg as well, has been for me to dig in and to experiment and to have a little bit of knowledge that coincides with what he's hearing you say when he has the opportunity to hear you, or other dealers say, like Mr. Sanders here, that okay, it's time together. There's others out there doing it. We might not be hearing about it, but behind the scenes, people that are progressive, that are hearing this message, are taking that next step and seeing the benefits of in so many different avenues of the dealership in terms of marketing, efficiencies, reporting, uh, stripping back your vendor stack, right? Which is the big opportunity in my eyes. And that's the ROI that I'm really pursuing. So, it's just like anything else. Any new technology, everybody's a little bit hesitant if you've been in this business long enough, because there's the next best flavor tomorrow, right? And in today's world with the AI, it's in a minute. There's the next best flavor. And so, but when you're developing and really creating and trying to understand what the best flavor is for this auto group in this town, in this market, with our vehicles that we have, it takes it to a whole new level and the buy-in just multiplies.
Yeah, and I want just to expand on that a little because you're actually hiring somebody now to help champion internal development. And you are, as you said, small, rural market. You're not mega dealer that has, 400 staff. So walk me through that. I think dealers need to hear the change. You're hiring someone who doesn't sell cars, doesn't write repair orders, doesn't wrench vehicles, doesn't do back end office work, warranty submission. Tell us a little about that side of the journey for you guys.
Yeah, so it's actually a very interesting story. And to take that a step back, Mr. Bruner, many, many years ago, I think it was 12 or 13 years ago, met a young man on a mission trip of his in Zimbabwe. And that he's been over there 3 times in that time frame and visited, had the opportunity to visit. Well, this young man ended up coming to the States, had the opportunity to come to the States for college, for school, ended up on his own at SMU, Southern Methodist University, in some sort of CSI, computer science information's master program, and knocked it out of the park. And here he is with a time frame for the visa to expire, to land a job, a little bit of a language barrier. Um, and Greg remembers this kid and makes the phone call through a couple of connections. And he has no tie to the automotive world. And this has obviously grown to a point to where it's beyond my capability as far as time, right? Because this is not a quick fix, regardless of the direction you go with it. It's not a one-click fix-it-all shop. It's a lot of time and a lot of thought process and a lot of, as you know, I think I've got it. It's not working at all. So we visited with this gentleman. He has no idea. Like, he asked us as an OEM dealer, do y'all service your own vehicles? Right? That was one of his questions. That's how distant he is from our everyday world. But he had worked with the Lovable app. He was familiar with that. He was familiar with building, reporting type things. And all of a sudden, it was like two worlds merged. He gets it's data. In his mind, it's all about data, right? And regardless of what data that is, the more you feed in it, he already understands, and we've only had phone conversations with him. The more data he gets, the more he can do with it. He knows that, regardless if it's the car business or fast food or whatever the platform is, he knows the more data he has, the more he can output, he can generate. And yeah, we're hiring this gentleman to don't even necessarily know that he's going to move to Stephenville, Texas, but even remotely to help put some of this stuff together. And my thoughts are this, him having that outside influence of not being in the car business could generally help us and just give us a different perspective of the way to look at things, the way to handle some different things. I look at it as a positive. So we're not hiring a non-car guy that has a language and a dialect, true language and dialect barrier, which, by the way, AI completely eliminates. There is no dialect or language barrier there any longer. And we're excited about it. I mean, we're just in the very early stages of it, but we think somebody that has that, base background of CSI, the computer world, a little bit of coding, um, can really help us take that next step to be able to communicate even better with like a core AI, right?
Yeah.
For down the road to be able to better structure the base level that I think is very important to be able to give, like you say in your blueprint, having that base layer of data and information and understanding to be able to hand over, I think is really, really important. And at this point, I've dabbled in it enough to know that it's beyond my time constraints, that this is something that we can invest in and see a positive ROI out of.
Cool. That's it's really awesome to hear that. Um, and I really good luck with him. I think that's going to be a very good match. I feel like having an AI champion inside a store is powerful. Dwayne, I want to shift to you because I think you've become a pretty power prompter. I see because I see you using the system. But I'm interested beyond that. Like, how are you working with your managers then to kind of level them up? I know like you're a learner and you're in there grinding it, figuring it out. Like, how are you bringing the team along with you? I think a lot of dealers want to know, like, what do they do? Can you give them and share and open up that a little bit? Like, share that roadmap of like your personal process, what has worked, what hasn't?
Well, I think the first thing you have to recognize is that some of your people are going to be good with it and some of them are not. We're all in the car business. We all know people who are great face to face, but can't handle a phone call. We all know people who are good with follow up. We know people who aren't. So you got to understand your people a little bit to find out who's going to be good with these things. And I think some of the advice I got is, when you're wandering around and you're talking to one of your people, and it's usually one of our younger guys, and I'm like, where'd you get that data? Oh, well, I found this spreadsheet over here, and I'm putting a feed in here, and I pulled this together, and it all pulls together in one spot. And I go, come here, I want to talk to you. You know, and so, and then the next thing is take the time to teach. So we're teaching. We have I say young guy, he's worked for us now for almost 20 years. He's an enterprise rent-a-car guy that came on board, and he manages used car reconditioning. He helps with a lot of our digital stuff. And so we've got him plugged into Core AI, teaching him how to develop audiences, how to write queries, how to do that. So there's a backup. So I don't have to do it all the time. So I think the answer is look for people. They're not lazy, but they're always looking for shortcuts to make their job easier. How do they take menial duties and automate them or do it? Or they're good at convincing the neighbor next to them to do it, that kind of a deal, so that's part of it. Um, there was a really good a couple months ago. We've hired a new controller. Our CFO is going to be retiring. We hired a new controller. We have new office managers, and so there was a problem with handling lawsuits, subpoenas, anything we were served with. Some of that stuff you always get served through your agent in the state of California. And so the controller asked me, can you help me, figure out how to standardize this process? So I had started using Chat GPT just to help me organize and store process documents for the dealership because I'm trying to get things done similarly in two locations 140 miles apart. Can't send people back and forth all the time, can't be in both locations. So I asked ChatGPT this, please write a bullet point process of how to respond to documents received at your business regarding a lawsuit, a demand letter, or a subpoena from the standpoint of the business owner. And in about 3 minutes, it spit out a 3-page bullet point. Here's exactly how you should do it. Looked good to me. We cleaned up a couple things. We passed it around to a couple people. And in a matter of 24 hours, we had a documented process we could give to all of our office managers, all our office managers that says, you get a lawsuit, you get a subpoena, this is exactly what you do with it. And so we built a process that, 200 people can follow in 24 hours. And so those are the kind of things that this is where it's going to be a huge time saver. And you can teach anybody how to read how to write prompts like that. That's the real key. Now there's some people who are not going to want to have anything to do with it. And you can't push a rope, as we've always said. But find the people who are engaging in it. And it takes them very little time to help you with this stuff.
Yeah, that's really great. It's funny. I went and visited a dealer friend of mine in Philly, and I get to his office. You just walk in after your normal greetings. I sit down. Service manager literally bursts in. Car just fell off the lift. So what did I do? I just got up and left because I'm like, adios. I'm like, your day's ruined. The next 2 days are pretty much ruined for you. But I felt bad, so I hopped in an Uber and I was heading back to the hotel, and I was like, "Oh my gosh!" So I hopped in my Claude, and I was like, "Hey, I'm a new car dealer. I have my service shop. Car just fell off the lift. What's the checklist? What do I do?" Similar to what you did, Dwayne. This thing kicked back like, don't touch anything. Our first instinct would be put the lift down, move the car. It's like, don't do anything. Take pictures, interview all the people who were standing around. Like, it went through this amazing checklist. And I literally took it and I sent it to him, like instantly texted, like, here's the link, like, make sure. It's like, here's what your service manager needs to be doing. Here's what you need to be doing. Call the insurance company, do this, do that, like all the steps. And I was like, what an amazing time, because I looked at that checklist being a previous dealer. I would have missed 4 or 5 things on that list. Absolutely. I just would have missed. I would have skipped over. I wouldn't have thought they were really valuable, but it saw through the whole experience all the way to the end where I'm trying to get a check out of the insurance company. They're like, well, you didn't really document it, or you didn't interview it. Like, and then that settlement gets cut in half and I'm out of pocket. And it was a very interesting lesson to me. And I looked at it just, I think, as you're looking at it, like, wow, this thing could really save us a lot of time. So that kind of, I want to kind of wrap this up. And I have a question for both of you. What would you say? I'll start with you. Well, actually, I'm with you, Dwayne, now. So let me ask you, like, dealer principals, GMs, people are listening. They've not opened ChatGPT, or they've only opened it and asked it 3 or 4 questions and they walked away from it. They didn't, they're not seeing how to use it in their day to day. And I would like you to say, like, or AI's for tech companies, or I don't have time for that, someone else's job, right? Remember, like, the internet came out and it was like, no, who's the young guy? You have a computer? Good,
Right.
you're the internet guy.
Right.
You know, what do you give advice to a dealer who's on the fence or barely ever used it? Like, if you could sit for next couple minutes and talk to them, what do you tell them?
Well, I think that you walk through the dealership and who are some of our busiest people? Some of our busiest people are our technicians, our service advisors, our parts counter guys, office staff, and find out if they're already using any tools, because some of them, I'm guarantee you there's some technicians out in the shop who are using Chat GPT or something else, as they always use YouTube. How do I fix this? How do I do it in the most efficient manner? So ask some of them what tools they're using. Also, I think if we can find out what daily repetitive tasks people are doing that bother the crap out of them, why do we have to keep doing this stupid thing over and over and over again? And figure out, then take that away and go log into Chat GPT and start asking questions about it. And you're going to be amazed at the amount of content that comes back from it. So, you just stick your toe in the water and start asking questions relevant to your business. Just as, what happens if there's an accident on the lot? It'll give you a checklist, and don't be scared, to ask those questions. And I think you're going to find out that a lot of your team already has ideas on how to automate these things, and that will really make them more efficient. And if they see you as a general manager or a dealer principal engaging in it, they're going to come forward with more ideas on how you can help them be more efficient.
Okay. And like, let me pile on to that. Like for you, like what made you want to use it? And how did you first use it compared to how you're using it today?
Well, I think, just getting interested in AI, learning a little bit core AI and the LLM you guys have laid across that. So I wanted to find out how to use, again, what is it? I've been involved with Steve Knappenberger for 40 years, and one of Steve's favorite sayings is the most difficult problems are the ones that time or money cannot solve. So what are we all, what do we all value more than anything? I value my time. So I'm trying to find out ways to solve problems faster so I can do some other things I'd rather do, because I'd rather not deal with some of those things. So that's what led me in down that road. And obviously working with Drew Lynn, who uses Grok, he uses Claude, he uses Chat, he uses all the things to verify an idea across it. So it just said, there's got to be some better ways for me to do this. And the last part of it is every dealership group has a lot of institutional knowledge. There's people around that know how to do things, where it is, how do you turn off the water main, where's the fire, where's this. So we have to take all that data and we've got to get it somewhere and populate it so that everybody has it. Because when Brian retires or when Dwayne retires, we need to be able to pass that data down. And this is the easiest way to do those things.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. Love that. And then for you, Brian, literally same question, from your perspective, you kind of hit the ground and said, oh my gosh, look at all this. You exploded into it. For dealer principal out there who's never opened ChatGPT, thinks AI is just for the tech companies in Silicon Valley. What do you say to him? Like, what should he do? Like, what's your thoughts?
Yeah. So on my first recommendation, we go back to the series and listen to these podcasts that you've done on this, and which I've done, and it just opens your mind up to so many questions, and then it gets you thinking about how could I, right? So one of your recommendations was in my leadership meetings on Wednesday mornings. I was kind of astonished by, and I've got all ages in this meeting about how many people don't use it and the reasons why they don't use Chat GPT or any AI. They're stuck in the old, Google. I call it GTS, Google that stuff. So I just tasked them just 2 weeks ago. My weekly meeting now that's in my Bruner app that I built on Lovable has a reference of what did I use AI for this week. And my first task to each of them was to go in, open up a Chat GPT and tell them who you are, what you do. My name's Brian Duran. I'm partner in a GM, CDGR franchise dealerships. I have a family. I have 2 kids in college, 2 kids grad. I gave it my life, right? And I left it at that. And then I went back in a day later and said, show me a problem that's consistent amongst dealers my size, because it already knew how many cars I sold a month, new, used. I told it all that, and how you can help me solve that problem. And it gave me a list, right? It said, what would you like to address first? These are some common problems or issues or time consuming activities that you face every single day. Which one would you like to address first? And that was my introduction to ChatGPT was, wow, that it's right. First of all, it's right. It takes way too much time to do X. and it's given me a possible solution, right? A possible solution. And then it's allowing me to cater that or build that around a very unique situation that I'm in. Again, rural market, my people, my processes, my everything is now fed in, and it's building it around some of the things that we do that are specific to our dealer group, right? But it knows who I am. So my first thing to say, if you've never gotten into something like this, tell it who you are and ask it to help fix something that is common, not even specific to you, that is common, and it'll get the mind thinking, oh, so it can do this. It can give me recommendations on how to address certain issues that it's not unique to me, right? That everybody's experiencing. And it's going out and gathering so much data that's out there of, hey, based on this dealer group or that, and it's very specific. We've seen a lot of this, and here's how you can approach this, and here's what I would recommend in your situation based on the constraints that you've given me or that you've listed here. So introduce yourself to it. It sounds weird. Introduce yourself to a platform, a chat GPT, tell it who you are, give it a lot of that data about yourself, biography if so, and then let it make a recommendation to you to just start exploring. So that was my task to my team as leaders within our group at all age groups. And it was amazing what happened just a day or two after that, because now my leaders are coming back, my department managers are coming back to me saying, hey, I asked it this, it told I'm going to start working on this. So now I've expanded my reach of what the efficiencies that I'm trying to put in place with just a very simple one task in one meeting, just asking them to open themselves up to it. So just open yourself up to it, ask it a question, introduce yourself to it, and it'll take you places that I never would have thought I could have gone on my own with my skill set where it was at. I'm not even a social media guy, right? So it's taken me places and allowed me to do some things that are first and foremost beneficial to my people. And they're very thankful for some efficiencies, and they're going to allow us to take the next step into your domain in where Dwayne's at, certainly. And I'm so glad to meet him. The marketing tools, the specifics of that. So it's going to take us a total different direction, and it's stuff we've always talked about, but never known how to achieve. And it's allowing us to do that.
Yeah,
NCM GPT.
yeah, there it is, right? You know, as we're wrapping up here today, I really look at, both of what you guys have done. Congrats. I mean, you've taken very different approaches to leveraging AI, and they're both working. And I think it's a testament that there is no one way. We're all going to find our way to leverage these tools to kind of give us superpowers today, to really take our business to the next level through all types of, improvements. The common thing from both of you, though, you got involved. You rolled up your sleeves. It was cool to learn new things. It was cool to fail along the way, make mistakes, and iterate. And I think the key with AI, it's all iteration. There is no AI product you buy off the shelf and it's going to produce magic. I think both of you are testaments that you get in, you continue to experiment, refine it, make it better, make it more usable, and make more impact. So I want to thank both of you today for spending the time. I hope the dealers get a ton from our time together. So thank you.
Yeah, no, Todd, and if I could make one more recommendation, you haven't even mentioned it, but if you could direct the folks out there to the blueprint just to get an idea of what it's about at the big end picture, right? That takes it a step further really than what I've talked about. I think that was really eye-opening to me as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
I
I'll make sure
I
I
would
give
say
Nick the link. Yeah.
one other quick thing, and then I say, if you're willing to spend tens of thousands of dollars a month on other tools, marketing, Auto Trader, KBB ICO, spending a couple $100s a month having people at work use a GPT to help things is nothing.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right.
Great point. Love it. So, Nick, I see you back. So,
Gentlemen, that was an outstanding conversation. Great way to leave it, to great real world recommendations from dealerships using AI. A great way to leave it. Dwayne Sanders with the Santa Barbara Auto Group, Brian Durant with the Bruner Auto Family, and our outstanding discussion facilitator, Todd Smith of Core AI. Gentlemen, so much great information for dealers of all sizes to digest. Thank you again for being with us.
thank you.
Glad to be here.
And on behalf of all of us at Cherokee Media Group, we thank you so much for joining us, and we look forward to having you again next time.